Hey traders, checking out on the cryptocurrency space. So we started the morning looking real good with bull breaks out there, and now we have to take a little bit of a pause because the broader stock market absolutely dumped into the end of the day, and that is weighing on the crypto bulls slightly. So let's see where we stand and what has to happen for bulls to gain confidence. So this was the Bitcoin 4-hour falling wedge that we were keeping an eye on. And if you're not following me on Twitter, do so, because I put out a lot of info on Twitter in between when I put out videos on YouTube. And so I put out a little 2-minute video yesterday saying the most important charts are this 4-hour falling wedge in Bitcoin and the Nasdaq needing to see a 12-hour oversold bounce. So we'll look at both of those charts because we got the bull break that we were looking for on Bitcoin. But as you can see, we've now pulled back fairly significantly. There's no major red flags if you show me this chart in itself. You know, the bulls obviously want to set a 4-hour high or low, holding the EMAs on a back test and see continuation. But what this 4-hour bull break did is set our 2-day higher low. So I am viewing this as our low of the entire drop, the high of the bounce, and now we have a higher low at 41.1. And the bulls really need to hold that level to try and shape up the trend change. We made it all the way to 43.5. Resistance was 44.5, but here we are giving back $1,000 of that move. So what this 4-hour chart does into tomorrow is going to be very key for me. But again, we're already giving back more than the bulls want to see here. And the reason, all you have to do is look at the Nasdaq. This was a 4-hour falling wedge. In an ideal world, we would have broken bullish, obviously, and then that would have helped follow through. We can say that the crypto bulls are holding on really well. I mean, look at the end of the day here in the Nasdaq. We just rolled over and then absolutely fell apart. And so now we have weekly downtrend continuation, and we're approaching daily oversold conditions. And in the past, daily oversold conditions have been good bounces, but we're seeing things shift. I'm viewing things as pre-COVID and post-COVID, and we're seeing differences in the post-COVID world, meaning first weekly downtrend since the COVID lows, 12-hour oversold RSI not marking a level. Yes, we saw a little bounce that cooled off RSI, but now we're dropping to lower lows, and that is keeping the bears in complete short-term control. So the best case scenario from here would be multiple days of stock market bounce due to the Nasdaq being oversold. We have Netflix missing earnings and getting absolutely crushed in after hours. That's adding downward pressure as well. So essentially, the main takeaway is Bitcoin gave us what we wanted to see. Stock market did not. That is weighing on Bitcoin. We can't have confidence as that's taking shape, but it could be saved where if we were to see the broader market bounce tomorrow, that would help the cryptocurrency space try and keep this 4-hour uptrend. So I did make entries on Bitcoin and Ethereum on this pullback. Yesterday, I was making those entries, and I forget exactly where my average is. Keep track of things by just watching my total account value. Let's see. So 11:37 a.m. yesterday was this hourly higher low. So I was looking at, okay, we rejected from resistance. I'm looking for an inverse head and shoulders. And it eventually played out, but I was starting to make some entries here, and then I added a little bit as well. So I started nibbling, and then I added a second position on both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I was second guessing myself right about here last night, saying, wow, I was really confident we were going to break bull in this pattern. This is going to be a shot to my ego if I stop out of these trades and if we had dropped down to the lower low. Again, fortunately, we broke bull, but the broader market is ruining this setup a bit. So tomorrow is going to be key. If we see continued further downside, then that bull break on Bitcoin may be erased. I mean, look at the daily EMA 12. We have just been rejecting time and time again, an entire month of constant rejections. And here we are yet again rejecting. So if we drop down and break 41.1, I will stop out all my crypto positions. I'll be back to all cash again, and it will definitely be a short-term red flag. So we're watching these 4-hour higher lows. The Bitcoin dominance chart, again, just building this base down to the 39% range, but anything under 41 would be a lower high. Not getting a whole bunch of information there because you can see Bitcoin led a bit on the bull move of that pattern breaking, and now it's altcoins pulling back harder. So essentially Bitcoin went up faster and the altcoins are pulling back more, which is why this dominance chart has been in a multiple day bounce. Ethereum, EMA rejection. So again, I was entering at the same point in time. I like my entries, but I just don't like the setup as much. And the reason I don't like the setup as much is because the broader market is ruining everything. It's still dropping. Netflix is down over 15%. It was already daily oversold, crushed RSI. So yeah, we have not found a bottom in the Nasdaq. It's just free fall. 5-minute RSI has been crushed forever. But again, the longer term RSI level is not that crushed. The 4-hour RSI is only just getting to oversold because these bounces have been cooling things off. So overall, I'm fairly comfortable with my positions, but less confident that they're going to follow through in the way that I wanted, which was 2-day resistance breaks, which would have made them big winners. So looking for a 4-hour high or low on all these names, but have to be cautious because the last thing the bulls want to see on Ethereum or Bitcoin or whoever is set the 4-hour high or low, lower high, confirm the downtrend. ETH BTC setting the daily high or low as well. So I'm viewing this just as a tightening range. Anything under 7809 is just a lower high. And the bulls would need to break resistance for significant follow through, but we're going to anticipate a tightening range. The bulls are just hoping that our lower high has not already been set because, again, that would be a red flag as far as a weak bounce. Litecoin trying to set its daily high or low, failed to break the high of yesterday, so a little bit of a resistance rejection there. And the BTC pairing, again, this weekly chart, I care about the price levels more than the trend lines, but anything under 4425 is just a weekly lower high. So, as I've said many times, I'm watching this pattern very closely, but I'm not getting too excited just yet. Being very patient and continuing to watch how it develops. So LTC, USD, bulls would have to get over 153.91 to prove anything, which would be a daily trend change. And you can be on the 2-day time frame here as well. Same thing as Bitcoin. Have to change the 2-day trend for any kind of notable shift in momentum. Sol USD, weak. And we're close to a break of 130. Again, we're watching Sol for a monthly high or low, but there's no indication of it right now. And it's even weaker than Bitcoin. And the BTC pairing is about to make it, well, it just did. Pretty key break. Well, nope, not yet. My line's in the wrong spot. We're at that level right now, but look at this base here where it is. We bounced off of it a couple distinct times, and here we are again. And if that level breaks, monthly consolidation then begins on the BTC pairing. And that just means, okay, we got to be more cautious now because another leg down then becomes a lot more likely. So if we break 130 on Sol, then looking down 128, 125, 116. So I'm still going to be watching this name for a monthly high or low, but again, it's a bit weaker. So no interest at this point. Sushi, still watching the weekly. We're scouting a weekly high or low, anything above 433. I made an initial little entry attempt, stopped out with a small loss. But again, just watching this bigger picture pattern with a lot of space for a weekly high or low. But the range is big enough that we can be watching for the potential of an equilibrium to form. So again, I don't anticipate that I'm going to be making any moves at this point after that small failed attempt. But I'm going to be watching this for its continued tightening range and for the eventual break of this tightening range. So Sushi BTC is doing the same thing, tightening weekly range, trying for the high or low. And I gave myself an attempt to get that high or low, but after the failure, no longer interested. We'll patiently wait at this point. FTT is standing out as a big time bull. Massive bounce, daily bull flag holding EMA support, and continuation. Again, it's not going to be able to completely ignore if Bitcoin doesn't follow along, but it's a much more significant bounce taking place right now. The monthly high or low is trying to shape up off of EMA 12. We will have to be cautious of the head and shoulders. This is a very similar monthly chart to Bitcoin. The biggest difference is Bitcoin's trading down around here and FTT much stronger. So we will need a weekly trend change eventually whenever this move tops out, but positioned very well comparative to the rest of the crypto space. It was one of the weakest coins and then just a V-shaped bounce off of that low. And we have a daily high or low benchmark now, 42.93, for the bulls to try and keep some control. FTT BTC, same thing, bull flag confirmed. We will need a weekly trend change. It was a long, drawn-out falling wedge here on the daily time frame. Again, the BTC pairing, this is why I'm watching Litecoin, and I know I keep saying it, but watch the BTC pairings that are in long, drawn out, falling wedges, because when they break, they are definitely worthwhile. And FTT showing why. And Litecoin is just the biggest, longest drawn out falling wedge that I've ever seen in the crypto space, which is why I'm watching it so closely. And looks, a lot of people looking at looks because it is an all-time high new coin, new shiny object. I would not be looking for entries at this point. The most aggressive bulls would be looking for a 15-minute oversold bounce, which is a 15-minute back burner if we get there, scouting a 4-hour higher low. So anything above 561 is a 4-hour higher low, and hopefully that EMA 12 catches up a bit more, but that would be the most aggressive entry that I would be looking for at this point. The 5-minute oversold conditions have been used up enough that I would no longer be aggressively looking for those signals. I had a nice one here, 615, 15% bounce off of that, but at this point I'd be on the 15-minute at a minimum. Otherwise, a picky bull is going to say, I'll see you when we get hourly oversold conditions looking for a daily higher low. And we don't even have a BTC pairing to look at, so that's a little bit of a disadvantage. There's just less information. I'm sure there'll be one soon, but not yet. So that's where we stand overall. We know that all coins are going to be positioned better than Bitcoin, worse than Bitcoin, and it's going to be Bitcoin that has to break this 2-day resistance if we're going to go anywhere. And again, this is just not a good sign to give back this much. We are going to back test the previous resistance line as support potentially, but again, I just don't like where the broader market stands. We're giving back too much, just fading weakness. So we'll see if the stock market ruins this setup. Bears are going to actively be looking for a 4-hour lower high next bounce to try and top fish the high of this move. Keep an eye on that Nasdaq chart to see if a bottom gets set or if we stay in free fall. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Do good things. So for this week, we're going to wrap it up with some more pictures and adventure time, but then we're going to get back to some real life stuff. I'm going to be moving into a short-term place while I continue scouting to buy a mini farm, but going to be growing a whole bunch of stuff, so I'll record some stuff about growing stuff and the nice springtime stuff. So here we got Florida. If you're going to camp in Florida, do it in the winter or the early spring or the late fall. This trip was in the winter and it was great. They got boardwalks going through the swamp area. It's a different world. It's like Jurassic Park. But if you do it in the summer, it was the worst experience I've ever had camping. I had to cut the trip early and go home with my tail between my legs because literally you get to where you're going, you hike around a bit, you're dripping sweat, the mosquitoes are unbearable the entire time. Anywhere in the shade is all mosquitoes. I would literally have to crawl into my tent at about 3 p.m., naked, dripping sweat, and you could hear the audible buzz of the mosquitoes around the mesh, and I could put my hand to the mesh and literally see a swarm come to where my hand was. So literally you're imprisoned and there's no way to stay cool. It was just miserable. So swampy trees, nice big ferns, and you really get to appreciate how well life is at growing, especially when it's in very wet, very hot conditions with the hanging moss everywhere. And all of these trees' branches have just little micro environments all throughout them of tons of stuff growing on them. Those clouds definitely soaked me and let me know that my tent was no longer waterproof. Had that little note on my Facebook post for this picture. But about what was I going to say? I don't know. Something. Great place to camp. Big trees, lots of green. Just do it in the winter. That's a really cool picture. And all that is just moss and grass and plants growing. The leaves just decay and create little soil on top of the branches, and life goes wild. I was going to say, when you're a farmer, you really get to appreciate how good life is at growing as well. With weeds and what these plants can do, you can uproot a weed and toss it to the side, and its roots are going to go right back into the ground, and it's going to stay alive. And it's just, life is pretty incredible with how well it can adapt and survive. So I know that when humans are long gone, life will continue to thrive on Earth. Life's not going anywhere. Humans probably will, but that's a ways away. So I appreciate you watching, and I think I go to Costa Rica next. I forget the last time I went over Costa Rica. I think it was fairly recent. We'll see. I'll dig something else up to talk about, and I hope you have a good day.